Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Eye on the Ball. I'm Steve Rivera alongside Jay Gonzales, and you're listening to 1030 The Voice. Welcome to Wednesday. I think it's Wednesday, Jay.
It is Wednesday.
You must be in Funville because you're a day away from seeing some true baseball.
Some actual baseball, yeah. Actually the Dodgers are playing on the first day. So
are you going to call in sick tomorrow?
I'm excited about that. And I'll be here.
What time do they play?
I looked it up a minute ago, and I've already forgotten what time. It's a 7:00 start.
Oh, so you have plenty of time.
Yeah, so it'll be on. I'll put it on the radio as I'm leaving. But I'm excited. Anxious to see. Is a weird thing. Here's one of the things I'm anxious to see. I'm anxious to see how the whole process of keeping guys healthy and what happens when guys get COVID and how all that's going to work. It's a weird thing to think about. But I'm wondering, okay, now we're going to start playing games, and guys are going to be around each other, and there's
traveling.
A guy's going to be sliding into second and breathing on the shortstop.
Well, you already see it.
like that.
You've seen a couple of games, maybe.
Right.
Well, how does the first baseman try to protect the? Well, there's a guy on first.
Right.
You're the first baseman. How do you hold the guy on?
They're playing like it looks like regular baseball to me. But what's going to be interesting to see is are guys going to start getting it, and what happens when they do, and all those processes that are going to be in place.
I saw an interview this morning. There's no spitting. At least there's apparently no spitting. But I saw some people spitting.
I don't know what they're going to do to catch them. I know that if I ever got caught spitting, my dad would smack me in the back of the head. I don't know if the managers can do that, but it's I'm interested to see if these things start to play out so we can see how this is going to work, and whether or not they can sustain this stuff so that we can actually have games going forward.
I think that's a good question for Dave Heeke too. Once they start to play, how do you keep them?
What's the process?
Yeah, what's the process? How do you keep them?
Yeah.
And let me say, I'm looking forward to it. I know you are too. Dave Heeke coming on the show,
right? His
second time. He's up against it like every other AD.
Sure, and I know that there's a lot of speculation about a lot of stuff, and how things are going to happen, and they're limited in what they can say about stuff like that. But there's a lot that's happened since the last time we had Dave on the show. Most prominently, the decision by the Pac-12 to not play any non-conference football games. So I think we want to find out how did that come about? What was the thinking?
Yeah.
And where are we going? Where are we headed?
Yes. There's a lot of things going on. Former U of A star Damon Sotomayor got an extension at his place. He had a heck of a year.
Yep.
And is doing very well as the head coach at Pacific.
Good for him.
One of my favorite guys. You might argue with me, but I know there's been tons of great players that come through the program. To me, he's number 2 of what he's done, what he did. I could take an argument. I'm fine, but he's number 2.
Yeah, he's way up there. I think I've got a longer history with the Wildcats than you do, and I put some guys up there with him, but. That team, the period that he was in there,
it's not a good one.
Well, he was on the team that lost to Santa Clara,
right?
But then they went to the Final Four the next year, so you got to give him a lot of props for what he was able to do, both at Arizona and then as a professional, and now as a coach. So good for him. Good for him. I'm glad to, he's got it going. What his future is going to be in coaching remains to be seen, but he signed a contract extension at Pacific through the 2025-2026 season. That's a nice amount of stability for him, and you're always rooting for guys like that.
Especially at a place where you go to get fired. Do you know what I'm saying? Not go to get fired, but you get fired if you don't do well at a bad school.
Well, those jobs are tough because, you're right. It's hard to win, and then when you don't win, you can get fired. But on the other hand, you do well.
You go.
You put up a couple of good seasons. You get in the NCAA tournament, maybe win an unexpected game or something like that. Now people are looking at you, and that's pretty much how every coach makes his way up. Sean Miller did that at Xavier, wound up at Arizona, and other coaches have done that, and so. That's that's the nature of the business, but good for him.
A lot of things going on. NBA's coming around the corner too. There's all eyes on baseball tomorrow to see how that happens. Basketball soon after, and then college football hopefully, and then NFL.
Well, yeah, and still as always, as there is every time we walk into the studio, there's been a bunch of stuff that's going on that's affecting what's going to go on with college football. Today, Clemson announced that at least for the first 4 weeks of classes, they're going to have no on-campus classes. But because they're not saying none at all for the semester, the door is still open to have football there. Cal did a similar thing yesterday. So, there's these little bits of news that are starting to come out, and you just wonder how that's going to affect things going forward.
So no on-campus classes, but they have to have kids there in order to have football.
Well, and Cal put out a statement about that today that said, because the whole thing was, didn't you tell us if students weren't on campus that you couldn't have sports? But Cal is saying, well, the campus is open, students are in student housing, stuff like that. We're just not going to have them in classes initially. And we might have them in classes in a month or 2 months or whatever.
Well,
so it's sort of a little bit of a loophole.
Yes. I was just going to say, don't you think that is a big loophole?
Well, it is, but I also get a sense of that, especially a school like Cal, where, football is a big deal, but it's not Nebraska or Ohio State or Texas or Ohio, one of those. If they don't think they should be playing football, they're not going to play football.
Sure.
I think that's one of those schools that puts academics a little higher than maybe some of the others.
And we've talked about this. I think we've talked about this. There's no right or wrong answer. Everybody has their own rules, limitations, expectations, and things like that.
And they have their own processes, which is what we're going to hear from Dave Heeke about. The stuff that they're doing at Arizona isn't what they're doing at Clemson or anywhere else. Right. We've got a doctor running the university. We've got a former Surgeon General running the reentry task force. The Arizona's in a different position than the others, and Arizona released some test results last week, and they're looking really good. So stuff is happening, but the students still aren't on campus, and so we there was an interview with Jamal Baker today, and he doesn't know when he's going to be allowed to come on campus and start working out. So there's still a lot has to happen before we know how it's going to unfold.
I know you were on the call with Jamal, and I was on the call with Jamal. A lot of people were. Good kid, very smart kid. A kid you want on your team.
Yeah, soft spoken, and I liked him from the minute I saw him. From the first time I saw him was at the red and blue game last year, and I really liked him because I felt like he had sort of I don't want to say an attitude, but he looked,
chip on his shoulder.
He looked like he wanted. He wanted to play defense. He wanted to lock people down. He looked like a good player. I actually
shot the ball well.
Yeah, he shot the ball well. I, throughout the season, wondered why he wasn't playing more, and found out the reason he wasn't playing more is because he was injured all season. So I feel like he's somebody that I really like, and I'm really waiting to see how he's gonna look when he's got more playing time and more ability to show what he can do.
Looks like he might be one of the team leaders.
Well, he got recruited to Kentucky for a reason.
Yeah, there's no question about that. Sometimes I know we got to get out of here for the break real quick, but I will talk about that later here. Dave Heeke on the other side once we come back here on 1030 The Voice.
We're Tucson's station for local news and talk. 1030 The Voice.
Camille Rivas Rutherford with Coldwell Banker Realty has been one of the top producing real estate agents in Tucson, Oro Valley, Marana, and Vail for more than 20 years. Let her help you find your dream home in southern Arizona. Her passion and enthusiasm for real estate has helped her become one of the most respected and trusted realtors in the area. And she was recently named a recipient of Coldwell Banker's 2019 International President's Circle Award. Camille's approach to sales and marketing and selling or buying a home is second to none. Give her a call at 520-250-5192.
It's those guys from Tucson Appliance Company, the best appliance company in Tucson.
For the month of July, we're going to donate 2% of our sales to a local charity from in-stock purchases.
Come shop at our store and work with our amazing sales team.
Dustin, David, Ryan, Alex, me, and Peter.
You can choose from a list of local charities for us to donate to.
The only way we can give back is if you shop local. Only at Tucson Appliance, where our low price is your priority.
Go local. Make the switch. At Hughes Federal Credit Union, we offer customized solutions and get you what you need faster. Like our quick and easy credit cards and auto loans. All done online from start to finish. Save time using mobile banking, bill pay, mobile deposit, and mobile pay with just a few clicks. Live large, accessing 30,000 plus surcharge-free ATMs and free debit card choices. Make the switch to Hughes today. Visit hughesfcu.org/switch. Certain restrictions apply, insured by NCUA.
The Old Pueblo's a place with a lot of great stories to tell. You can find all episodes of the Tucson History Podcast from 1030 The Voice at kvoi.com, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts. From the 1967 food giant jet crash to legendary Arizona coach Fred Snowden to the tales of Tucson's days as a Confederate capital, the Tucson History Podcast from 1030 The Voice is concise and always entertaining. Download them now at Google Play, Apple Podcasts, and kvoi.com.
This is Bill Buckmaster here at 1030 The Voice. We care about Tucson. Here are some things we can do together to keep our community safe. Wash your hands for at least 20 seconds. Avoid touching our faces outside of the home. When in public, please maintain a safe distance of 6 feet. Stay home if you're sick. Cover your mouth when you cough and avoid unnecessary trips into the public. We're in this together. Help us keep Tucson safe. 1030 The Voice. Trusted local news and talk.
Trusted local news and talk. 1030 The Voice.
Hey, welcome back to Eye on the Ball here on 1030 The Voice. I'm Steve Rivera alongside Jay Gonzales, and we're trying to get Mr. Heeke on the phone right now. We were looking forward to talking to him, and he was ready to come on, too, so we'll track him down.
Busy guy, so maybe he's deciding where I'm going to sit at the football games.
That's a question you might want to ask him. You might be selling hot dogs. You might be the.
Hey, today was National Hot Dog Day.
Was it?
It was, and I actually celebrated. Went out and got a couple of dogs and made some chili dogs. So we're all good. Well, I think we got him now.
Yeah, we're all good. Now on the line we have Dave Heeke, the AD at U of A. Dave, how are you?
I'm good, gentlemen. I'm getting hungry hearing about hot dogs.
Well, I couldn't pass up the opportunity, Dave. When they tell me it's National Hot Dog Day, I'm a go. I'm ready.
That's impressive.
You just got a commitment from him, too. If he can't get a ticket to the game, he'll sell hot dogs just to be in the game.
Exactly.
Okay, we may all have to do our part. That's
you know what? Whatever it takes, Dave. I got to get into the stadium.
Sounds good.
How the heck are you? I know you're swamped with stuff. Thanks for coming on the show. You're running out of time, but the new schedule's out due, what, maybe a little more than a week from now?
Yeah, I think, everybody knows that we've pivoted a little bit and gone to a conference-only schedule for football, and similar for volleyball and for women's volleyball and women's soccer. Cross country might be impacted just a little bit in the fall too. We haven't completely navigated that whole side of it, but we're moving to those and we're targeting the end of the month here. So we're looking like next Thursday or Friday of trying to have a finalized agreement that our presidents, obviously there's a lot of people involved in this, a lot of moving parts, but the presidents of the university can agree upon as things continue. And it's one thing to put the schedule together. Then you start working back, and we can talk more about this, but working back on when practice starts, when fall camp starts, when people can get into different segments of their training that has been so disrupted going through the summer.
Well, Dave, walk us through the decision-making process there, because there had to be, so much going into that. There was some, when Big Ten made their decision, there was a lot of people saying, why are you deciding now? And the Pac-12 came up right after that. So what was going through the athletic directors and presidents' minds in terms of making that call and making the call when you did?
Well, obviously we've been discussing this, planning. Lots of contingency planning, what if scenarios. We've talked before when I was with you previously about that was one of the options, to go to a conference-only schedule. The Autonomy 5 group, the Power 5, as sometimes it's referred to, group, The conferences have, been in constant contact with each other. The commissioners having regular meetings. So a lot of these things have been talked about. I think the Big Ten moved quickly. They decided to move. Their presidents wanted to move, and so they went ahead and did that. That certainly sent a signal up. And then, shortly after that, we, again, in consultation with our presidents, with our football coaches, all of our athletic directors went through a series of meetings and different scenarios, and then came up with the decision to go to a conference only. Very hard decision. We want to play our non-conference opponents, but it became, one of the key factors is how we can assure that there's a consistent testing. And at that time, we did not have that. We didn't have any guidance really from the NCAA. Each conference was somewhat on their own. Almost each school was on their own. So the best way the decision was made, the best way to create the absolute safest environment is to control it by a conference-only schedule. And that's really how we got to the decision.
You're getting probably information from all different sources. Just today or yesterday, the New Mexico governor said she doesn't want her colleges to be playing football at all. So you're just getting kind of not mixed messages, but you're hearing different things from different people. What do you think about all the options?
Yeah, that's one of the things, Steve. You hear that we talked about this a little bit before, I think. The different, geography, the different regionalization of things, the different interpretations, hot spots versus non-hot spots. All that is rolled in. It's not consistent across the country, and some of this, quite frankly, gets politicized. Mm-hmm. So that's in there and makes it hard. I was on a call with one of the athletic directors from the state of New Mexico, and very challenging for them when the governor comes out and says something like that. And it's very difficult. But those are the things that we're reacting to. And then today, all those schools that are potentially playing New Mexico and New Mexico State that may even face a much greater challenge because they're an independent.
Right.
They don't even have a conference, and they've been trying to put scheduling together based on some things that they've lost. So, yeah, these are the factors that just keep coming at us. We've said it lots of times before. There's no manual for this. There's no, okay, if that happens, we'll just go to plan B. We got to create a new plan and staying steady, just keep forging ahead, and hopefully we'll get to the end here at some point.
So now that you've made the decision to kind of, contain everything within the Pac-12, all the schools are, going to be playing each other, and you've got a little bit more control of the testing and all the protocols that are going to take place. How much interaction and collaboration is going on between, the 12 schools, all the way to the top, where you've got a reentry task force here at the U of A headed by Dr. Robbins and Dr. Carmona. And, what's going on with some of the other schools? How much information is being exchanged, and how do you keep your arms wrapped around all of that?
An incredible amount of information being exchanged. Very collaborative in the Pac-12. We are on calls at a minimum 3 days a week with the athletic directors, the conference office staff. I know that our presidents are on regular calls with the conference office and with Commissioner Scott. So lots of communication going on with all the different kind of scenarios. And it is just such a fluid situation. So we're communicating all the time about it. We feel really good about the testing and the protocols. The other thing that we felt was important in the West, and certainly in some areas like Arizona, like California, maybe a little bit Washington, some of our other areas have been lower in the number of cases and are in a better situation, but we needed more time. There was no way that we were going to be able to begin football. And our conference had 3 different schools starting on week 0, that last Saturday in August. So it really was about being able to control and push the schedule back, because we were not going to be able to play on those early weekends. It's very unlikely that we'll be prepared. We haven't brought all of our kids back to campus. They won't be prepared. And believe me, there are some who are in a much more dire straits than we are here in Arizona.
Let me ask you, I have to commend you. Your numbers are fantastic. Only 3 tests negative. or positive, whichever way you want to look at it. But how has that been done, and what's your secret?
Well, no secret. I think we put again, kudos to our staff, our team, from the university level, as we talked about, and you just mentioned, great leadership from Dr. Robbins, Dr. Carmona, the planning and the effort, the different protocols that we put into place, the review. One of the things that we benefit from as well is a tremendous health committee, doctors, scientists across the Pac-12. We are really the leading health committee in the country that is really kind of spearheading this thing from the very top. So an abundance of information coming across to all of us from that group in making this, doable. And again, having the information that we need to make good decisions going forward. I said it a couple times. It's a moving target, and it seems like day to day it moves. But I feel like we have the right people in those positions. And that's where it started. And so then we've been able to put a process in place that lots of education up front, certainly lots of testing. But you know what? Our student athletes have bought into it. They understand that they have a responsibility, not only to themselves, but to their teammates, to this community, that there's it can happen. You can catch this virus. And the worst part about that is that you can give it to someone else. And in many cases, younger people unknowingly giving it to someone else. They don't have any symptoms of it. And so, but our people have been really, really solid, rock solid with that. Again, we test every week. Every week we test and retest. So we are continually, our pool of now 85 kids, we're continually retesting. And we're hopeful getting closer now to an opportunity to potentially slowly begin to phase in some more student athletes.
Oh, well, that's where I was going to go next is, how far away are you from, resuming, bringing, athletes on campus so they can start getting, workouts in and working with the coaches and the staff and all that kind of stuff?
We have 1 minute for that one.
Okay. Hey, really important. I don't know if we have a date yet, but again, the scientific data is telling us that we're in a better position. We think we've got great protocols, and so we think we can start to, again, plan for that. Remember, those people need to quarantine and be ready to come back and then be tested and then be isolated. So there's a few weeks that you've got to put that in place so that they can be in the right position. Those have been steps that have been really important. We don't just bring them to campus and then start.
Right.
We want to bring them to campus assured that, hey, they're in the right spot. They don't have any symptoms, and then we can test them immediately. So we can talk more about that, too, if we want.
Yeah, we will. Let's talk. We got about 10 seconds or whatever left. We'll go to break, come back and talk more about the challenges you have, because you have a ton of them. Thanks a bunch, Dave.
CBS News at the top and bottom of every hour. 1030 The Voice, Tucson's trusted local news and talk.
This is a Bloomberg Money Minute. Stocks advanced for a fourth day as investors set aside concerns about rising tensions between the U.S. and China. The Dow Jones Industrial Average jumped 165. The S&P 500 added 19. The Nasdaq climbed 26. Tesla put a charge into its stock in late trading after it surprised Wall Street with a second quarter profit and better than expected revenue. The quarterly profit was Tesla's fourth in a row, paving the way for it to join the S&P 500. Microsoft is lower after the bell, despite reporting better than expected earnings and revenue for its latest quarter. Results for its Azure cloud computing business rose 47% from last year, but fell short of forecasts. NVIDIA may be feeling the urge to merge. Sources say the chipmaker may be interested in buying semiconductor designer ARM from Japan's SoftBank. The deal for ARM could become the biggest acquisition ever in the semiconductor business. Larry Kofsky, Bloomberg Radio.
CBS News Update. After ravaging New York, the coronavirus is taking its turn with California, which now has more cases than any other state. Governor Gavin Newsom.
Not highest per capita, not highest in that respect, but nonetheless a sober reminder why we are taking things as seriously as we are.
We may control the virus, but Dr. Anthony Fauci told CNBC he doesn't think we'll eradicate it.
The reason I say that is that it is so efficient in its ability to transmit from human to human.
There's a full court press to get a vaccine. CBS's Manuel Bojorquez with details.
On the vaccine front, the government announced today a contract worth nearly $2 billion with two companies, including Pfizer, to provide 600 million doses. The companies have said that if their vaccine is proven safe and efficient, 100 million of those doses could be available by December.
CBS News Update, I'm Pam Coulter.
There's a place in our house. For 70 years, Benjamin Supply has been keeping Tucson flowing. Hygiene is our business. We help you achieve extreme clean. Minimize germ spreading with a hands-free sensor faucet. Forget the paper panic with a washlet seat. And speaking of waterworks, a big thanks to plumbers for their essential efforts during this health crisis. Shop our downtown showroom by appointment. Call us at 777-7000 or see all the products online at benjaminsupply.com.
Thanks to Benjamin Plumbing Supply.
Being named the 2020 El Tour de Tucson dedication recipient was such an honor. I have been a part of El Tour in the past, and I know about some of these amazing names that have been dedication recipients in the past, but it was an honor to be chosen for that, not only for me, but for my organization that supports people with disabilities.
I've met so many people through the riding and through El Tour that are now some of my closest and dearest friends.
One of the things that makes El Tour, so safe and so well ran is all the law enforcement that gets involved, blocking up the roads. My favorite part of the course on the newer course was the backside of Pistol Hill.
I think what's amazing about El Tour is there's something for everyone's ability level. It includes the opportunity to be out there. You can even do a 1 miler. You can do something at home if you're limited to being indoors. That's what's great about it, is all abilities are encouraged. It's very inclusive.
It could be the best years of your life. In retirement, you'll finally get to do what you want to do. Travel, golf, spend time with the grandkids, or just relax at home. But you have to plan for it. Start by tuning in to John Hagenson every Saturday morning at 7 for Rethink Your Money with Keystone Wealth Partners. Make retirement the best time of your life. Tune in Saturday mornings at 7 for Rethink Your Money with Keystone Wealth Partners and John Hagenson. Keystone Wealth Partners is a registered investment advisory firm.
This is The Voice, 1030, Tucson's trusted news and talk.
Hey, welcome back to Eye on the Ball here on 1030 The Voice. I'm Steve Rivera, alongside co-host Jay Gonzales, and on the phone we have University of Arizona AD Dave Heeke.
So Dave, I want to understand a little bit more about the process and all the things that you're looking at as you're deciding, how you're moving forward. Now, the way I understand it, you've got the campus-wide reentry task force with Dr. Robbins and Dr. Carmona and stuff. And then there's one that's specific to athletics. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
Certainly we have the overarching university one, and then we have our own team of with 7 different work groups in it, specifically in athletics.
So how do those two work together, you exchange information, or, are they sending information to you, or how is all that coming together for you guys?
Yeah, several members of our team and our core group of team, our leadership team, sit on the overall, and they work in different, work groups of the campus reentry plan. So we're connected in that level. So we have athletic department personnel who are connected on the overall campus reentry team, led by Dr. Carmona and Dr. Robbins, and by our provost that really kind of pulls things together, provost folks. So that is kind of how the communication flows back and forth. Anytime that we're interested, and then you have our medical professionals, led by Dr. Carmona and Dr. Robbins, who are bringing information to the table from the county, from the state level, from all of, from the city. All those medical professionals are on generally weekly at the least weekly, and I think it's biweekly. Medical information is how many cases, what's going on with hospitals. So that's all being pushed into the system and then that information flows. Anytime we want to take a step, we then outline the steps, outline how we're going to do that, how it fits in with the overall plan, and then that must be approved by Dr. Robbins and by Dr. Carmona and the team that analyzes all of the reentry material.
So yesterday, I think it was yesterday, maybe it was Monday, we saw the announcement by Cal that initially all classes are going to be online, but the campus is not technically closed, so that leaves the door open for them to still have sports. Because we had heard back earlier in the summer, if the students are on campus, we're not having sports. But it seems like there's, I don't want to call it a loophole, but more of a
concession.
They're just kind of being, I don't know. It was sort of a step back. We're not going to be able to have classes right now. What's going to happen there?
Well, I think there was a general feeling that and I think that was driven by external forces, potentially media. Obviously, you can get to it very logically. If you can't have students on campus, or you're not going to open your campus, how could you ever have athletics? And I think, again, that makes logical sense. But I think all of the campuses want to open to some degree. They have certain areas that are already open. Much like us, we have research and scientists that are on. We have some graduate students that are on campus. Our ROTC program is active, I believe, at this point. There's just some little nuances and athletics. And really they've been test areas to see if this is, can we accomplish this? In this COVID environment, can we operate, And I think we've all found across the country that in small groups we can do that. It does campuses are starting to make that decision. Can we bring back 20, 30, 40, 50,000 students? How do we live in a COVID environment with that many students? I think Cal has made the decision that they need to, at least for a while, and I don't recall exactly the announcement. I think it was a month or for a period of time they're going, maybe they said all fall, to be online. But still they're going to be able to have student athletes continue because they have several that are on campus now.
How much of an influence, tomorrow baseball starts, thankfully, NFL will start soon too, and then NBA, will that influence you guys at the college level, do you think?
Well, I've been, again, I'm a baseball guy, so I've actually been watching a little bit of the preseason, whatever you want to call them, exhibition games now, with no fans in the stadium. I think it will help. I mean, again, we've seen the PGA move forward. We've seen some auto racing. We've seen soccer internationally work a little bit. So each one of those we begin to learn. It begins to open it up a little bit more. The NBA now is starting to roll. So those things help. But it's so much different because we're not a professional sports organization. We can't 100% control, the players, put them in a bubble. That's not who we are. We're going to do the very best we can, but again, we can't relocate to Orlando, or we can't decide all of our student athletes are going to live in one area, and that's just not who we are. So that's the challenge is how to live in the environment. But I think we learn things. We learn about the non-fan environment. We learn about what they're doing with players. Baseball is interesting because they're going to go city to city. They're going to travel. So that is an excellent test case for us to see how it can work.
Go ahead.
No, you could go ahead.
Well, I was going to ask, one of the things that's kind of come out the last couple of days, and it's the worry about what happens when the students get on campus, and in particular, what's been talked about the last couple of days is the fraternities, and we're seeing that, and I should say the Greeks, because you got fraternities, sororities, and whatnot, and just there's not been the amount of caution that you would hope, with some of that. And John Wilner, who's, a good friend of ours, and I think you know him, just threw out a comment, he said they should just shut them all down if we're going to play football. So, I mean, as you start realizing that students going to be on campus in a month, what what's on the agenda for you guys to make sure that things can work?
I think those are all factors. Although the fraternity and sorority system has been singled out a little bit, any of these, we've had some incident. Any of these larger groups where people come together, generally inside, it's not a good situation. Similar to going into bars that are full with a lot of people, or those just are not good environments. I think we all know that. We also know that sometimes young people feel more invincible and don't always make the best decisions, and that's part of this process.
We were those guys.
If this thing's going to work, But if this thing's going to work, and that's why I respect what our football players, our football student athletes have done, and if we want to play, if they want to participate in the things that they love, there's a responsibility that they need to exhibit. There's accountability. There are things they have to do. They have to accept a different lifestyle if they want that side. If they're unwilling to do that, this is not going to work. If fraternities or sororities or people want to go out and do things and not think about the greater good, it's not going to work. We're going to close down schools. We're going to go back. Again, I want to play. I want to try to get fans. I want it to work. So I'm pretty no nonsense about it. Either you do it or you don't.
Right.
If you don't want to, then you can't be here. It can't work both ways.
Right.
And so that's what it's about. It's about responsibility. And so I don't know. Do we get to a point where we need to restrict living arrangements, where people are? Now we're getting into a space where people are off of our campuses and how we restrict and how we do that. I know that from our leadership team, we're very cognizant of the pressure this could put on, our greater community. And that's first, and it is right at top of mind awareness by our leadership. That's why we paused the way we did. We're doing excellent in our bubble. We're doing excellent. But we've got to be aware of the overall community too.
Yeah, no question. In fact, all the talk is about football, but you have the 3 sports you mentioned or the 4 sports you mentioned earlier in the show. No one really talks about those, and they're all involved as well.
Hey, I'll take it a step further, guys. We don't even think about fall softball non-championship season for our men's and women's golf team, our men's and women's tennis team, who are competing, who are traveling, who are doing the things, our baseball, in the fall. Again, so many, I think of, baseball doesn't start till February. Well, no, baseball really starts right when they come back to school, and there's fall ball, there's things going on. So, and the golfs and the tennises, our beach volleyball, they actually are competing. They're going to tournaments and travel, and it counts towards their overall season and their rankings and all these things. So it impacts a ton. And then truly those that are in the fall, football for us, women's soccer, our cross-country programs, and women's volleyball, how we manage that. So it impacts so many different people. And again, we're talking about football. That's great, but we've got to test all of those soccer players. We've got to test the volleyball players. We've got to have control over what they're doing. We want to make it safe for them. We want their parents to feel confident in allowing their child to come here and compete and be in a really safe environment. So it gets complex. There's a lot of moving parts, but we're determined to find ways for it to work out.
Yeah, lots of moving parts. So I'm going to put on my fan hat now, Dave, and ask you, what are the pieces that have to fall into place for you now to be able to start telling fans, this is what's going to happen if you want to go to a volleyball match or, of course, a football game or whatever. Where do we have to get to, and what's kind of the time frame for that? I know, the football schedule is supposed to come out on the 31st, and there's other pieces that have to fall in places. I mean, do you kind of have an idea of what's going to happen, and then now, okay, we announce the schedule now, we're going to let you know, or how far away are we from that?
Well, as I said before, we're going to wait as long as we can because we think time helps. You learn more and you get closer. You allow things. It may not go in our direction, but at least you allow as much time as possible to make the best decision. And again, I don't want to mislead anyone. That's our target on the 30th or 31st to really have a football schedule finalized. Will it be announced on that day? I don't want to get, our listeners and others who may report on this, a timeline that doesn't quite work out. That's our target, and that's what we want to do, and hopefully shortly thereafter we can do that. But then I think you kind of start backing it up. We're going to delay the season, so it's going to start later in September. Who knows? Maybe even later. And so we've got a little bit more time now. It's not like we're starting on August 29th. We've got a few more weeks here that we can move forward and see. I do think that under the current kind of climate and reading the tea leaves, our crowd sizes, the capacity is reducing. I think it's going to be hard to get to a 50%. I think we're creeping back to a much smaller number of people ever being and attending any of our events, whether that's football or soccer or volleyball. Lots of social distancing, lots of procedures and protocols when we think about food service and we think about parking and we think about tailgating. All of those things are going to be modified dramatically. It's going to be a much different experience, but we do hope we can have an experience where people can come and at least support the team and watch the team and be part of it.
Well, there's a lot of obviously bad news that you have to say, tell people, yada, yada, a lot of doom and gloom. But what was the last time you received some good news, positive news to get you maybe through the day and you see progress possibly being made?
Well, you know what? I get up every day in a positive way. We are working hard to make this happen. And I'm focused on getting our students back. And when I say that, I mean all of our students. It's important to all of our students to come back to campus. They want to come back. They enjoy it. They want to continue their studies, and so do our student athletes. And obviously our student athletes want to compete. That's what's so important in their lives while they're here at Arizona. So I keep that central and focused. So that, to me, is a positive. It's always a positive. I think we get thrown curveballs multiple times a day. So I'm trying to be a better curveball hitter, and we don't want to strike out a whole lot. We've got to try to move the runners along, and we're kind of going base by base here and keeping things simple. But hopefully we make little steps all the time. I do believe that while Arizona has been in a tough situation from our cases and the COVID numbers, it does seem to be slowing a little bit. I don't want to talk like I'm an expert because I'm not, but it does seem like, okay, we've got some control. It's not spiraling upward as it was. So that's a good thing. And hopefully we can continue to see that trend of a plateau or some downward movement, however that gets measured. Because those become positive moments. Hey, we got air. We can do that. Because that's important. If we don't get that, this thing's going to start tilting in the wrong direction again, and we're getting close to clutch time. We really are.
Yeah. Well, that really seems to be that we've said it a couple times. We thought we had all this time, and it's creeping closer. But look, I remain confident that there's going to be some football in the fall. I've come to grips with the fact that it may not be till spring, and if that's what it has to be, then that's what it has to be. But I'm hanging on. I want to make sure that that if we are going to have football in the fall, we got to have the nachos in the fall, and we got to have hot dogs. So anything else, I'm okay with. If you guys can't serve beer or whatever. But got to have the nachos, got to have the hot dogs.
We just don't want him selling them to us.
Okay, well we'll work on the menu. So again, our intention is if we're having events, we'll have those services, and we want to have some food service and make it as enjoyable as possible. I think we're all going to have to work together. If we get to that point, we can have fans in the stadiums. We're going to have to work together. Again, there's going to be a responsibility upon all of us that are in those stadiums and arenas to do the right things, or else it's not going to work, and we're going to have to shut them down.
Right.
And so I'm optimistic. I am bullish. We're going to do it, and we're certainly football and the scheduling thing is focused on the fall. We want this to happen in the fall. We have not entertained a spring schedule really. That's always there. It's kind of up on the shelf. We know it's there and we can move to it, but let's exhaust every ounce of possibilities for the fall.
Dave, thanks a bunch. We really appreciate having you.
Thank you.
And
I want to be positive. I do.
I am too.
Yeah,
we'll
we're
get,
in this. We're all in it together.
We are, and we're going to get you back here again as
it
it goes along. So absolutely,
Look
Dave, we
forward
do
to it.
appreciate it.
Be well, be safe. Thanks.
Take care.
That was Dave Heeke.
Bear down.
Bear down. Well, that was Dave Heeke from the U of A. We'll get back to you here on 10:30 on the other side.
The Voice, Tucson's trusted local news and talk.
Time to update those old kitchen cabinets? Call the Window Depot today. The Window Depot is not only the #1 warehouse for windows and doors, we now have a great selection of kitchen and bath cabinets at Tucson's best prices. The Window Depot is Tucson's top spot for granite and quartz countertops to finish the new kitchen or the replacement of that old worn out Formica. So call us today at 290-8545 or 622-6430. The Window Depot, windows, doors, granite, and new kitchens.
There's a place in our house. For 70 years, Benjamin Supply has been keeping Tucson flowing. Hygiene is our business. We help you achieve extreme clean. Minimize germ spreading with a hands-free sensor faucet. Forget the paper panic with a washlet seat. And speaking of waterworks, a big thanks to plumbers for their essential efforts during this health crisis. Shop our downtown showroom by appointment. Call us at 777-7000 or see all the products online at benjaminsupply.com.
Thanks to Benjamin Plumbing Supply.
These days, most families are concerned with having the right insurance coverage. Protecting your family, home, auto, and other valuable possessions can be challenging and sometimes expensive. Crest Insurance gives you flexible options and solutions while saving you money. Insurance is not one size fits all, and at Crest, we find the coverage that's best for you and your family. Visit us online at www.crestins.com or call us toll free at 888-881-5765.
1030 The Voice. News from inside the Beltway.
Hi, it's Hugh Hewitt on the next Hugh Hewitt Show. Kurt Schlichter brings you up to speed with everything President Trump has said during this week that the Democrats are once again in hiding. I can't be there. It's my vacation the week before the election sprint. The Colonel Kurt will take you from top to bottom on everything you need to know on the next Hugh Hewitt Show.
Weekday mornings from 10 to noon on 1030 The Voice. Trusted local news and talk.
Tucson's source for trusted news and talk. 1030 The Voice.
Hey, welcome back to Eye on the Ball here on 1030 The Voice. I'm Steve Rivera alongside Jay Gonzales. It's always good to have Dave on the show.
It is, and he's so, he's extremely positive, working hard to, figure out ways to make this happen. And again, he's got a lot of people that he's working with at the U of A to try and make this happen. And the U of A has been one of the leaders across the board on the whole COVID thing. And, and that's a good feeling for us who are here in Tucson. Now, I worry that not everybody's in that position.
Sure.
And there was a point made last week, and yes, we're singling them out. We're singling out the fraternities and the sororities for the potential problems that are out there.
Sure.
But, there's just some reports coming out of there that they're just not taking this as serious as everybody else.
Yeah.
And as he said, everybody's got to take responsibility or it's not going to work,
Mm-hmm.
But, I liked what Dave said right there at the end where he said, we're going to exhaust every possibility, every option to get this in the fall before we go to the spring.
Well, and I know a lot of it's financial.
Right.
This means so much to so many people on so many levels.
Right. And one of the things you're hearing a lot about is that, how much of a risk do we want to take for the financial piece of this? And I get it.
Mm-hmm.
We don't want to risk people's lives at this. But, if they're deciding this based on the science, then hopefully, things fall into place and you can do this. And then, maybe you do find out once they start playing, this isn't going to work and it all kind of falls apart. But, I think that as long as they make decisions based on facts and science and not on, their hearts wanting to have football, we'll be okay.
Well, that was the one question I didn't get to ask him. And it's not so much of having a date. He said it's going to probably be mid-September at the earliest.
Right.
We kind of knew all that.
I think we figured that.
Yeah. So it's not so much about dates, but about the numbers really decreasing.
Right.
Right. and it's going to be decreasing different places.
Right. In some places it's not.
Right.
But, and we've got to flatten this thing out. And there are signs, that it's flattening a little bit. But, it's, you just have no idea what it's, even in a week.
No. I was just going to say it's too early, yet it's too late.
Right.
Because it's too early to say anything definitive, but it's too late because we're running up against it.
We are up against it. And we are out of time. And okay, they're going to announce a schedule, and maybe maybe they'll take a little more time or something like that. Sure. Because they've got to. There's still some more things that have to fall into place. But I do believe that because they've already decided we're cutting a couple of games off the schedule, they bought some time with that.
Sure.
And they may throw out a schedule and say, this is what we think today. Right. So it's just going to be a matter of,
So I don't know if anybody brought this up to you, but in that schedule, because they talked to me about it, would you mind playing ASU twice in a year?
We brought that up, and I think I would mind. I'd rather see us play.
I
say us. I'd rather see all the teams play at another team. Add another team that's not on the schedule. I know you go into the logistics of travel and scheduling and all that kind of stuff. But I just as soon say, don't play
the rival
the
twice.
same. Don't play the same team twice. Football is different. You can do that in basketball. You obviously do it in baseball and all the other sports. Football stands out from. You don't want to have to play somebody two times. I think what you'd rather do is, add somebody that you don't already have on your schedule if you're going to play 10 games.
Yeah, Thomas.
See, I say bring on the home and home, and here's why. Because especially in the NFL, because we don't see this in college, but let's say you have a matchup against a team, and the last time you face them, or the only time you face them if they're in a different conference, then you go through the playoffs and you have that matchup again in the playoffs. There's so many storylines that go into that. I would love to see him play once at the beginning of the season and then once at the end, because there'll be so much build-up and hype for that game at the end of the season. I think it'd be great. I'd love to see that.
Tells you how good you were at the beginning and how good you are at the end. I don't know. I agree with you, Jay. I wouldn't want to play ASU twice if I was you or whatever.
It makes sense. It makes some sense in a lot of respects, the travel and the proximity and stuff like that. But I just think football is different. And yes, in the NFL, you play everybody two times, but this isn't the NFL. Go play, go play somebody else. Whoever that might be.
A lot of fun. I guess by tomorrow you'll be all giddy. Tomorrow you'll probably wear your Dodger outfit.
I'll have my Dodger hat on tomorrow. I'll be looking for my. I've been.
Who's the starter? Who's starting tomorrow?
Well, Clayton Kershaw's going to start tomorrow.
Oh, is he? Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
And I drafted who I think is the best pitcher on the Dodgers for my fantasy team, Walker Buehler. I'm one of those guys that I pick players that I want to see.
Yeah.
And sometimes I don't pick the best player out there, but I've got a couple of Diamondbacks, a couple of Dodgers on my team. I'm ready to go.
When was the last time you cashed in one of these things?
I always cash.
Well, never mind.
A little bit. No, that's not really true. It's probably been a while, but I'm much better at fantasy football than I am at baseball, because I don't follow the players as much in baseball as I do in football.
It's hard to.
It's really hard.
Thanks a bunch. Good show today.
It was a good show, Dave Heeke. We appreciate you being on again, and we'll get you back. And we're off again.
Yeah. Talk to you tomorrow.
KVOI Cortero, AM 1030, the voice of